topic before us today is justice uncompromised.
Yes.
In Africa and all over the world, we've heard news and witnessed, how justice has been compromised in so many places in Africa, even in our local community. So that is the reason why we want to, discuss this issue, justice uncompromised. What do we have to do not to compromise justice in the world so that the world will be a better place? Because I believe that if justice is being given to everyone,
yes,
the world will be a better place and a peaceful place for everyone to dwell. Okay, I want to start with you, Freedom Giant.
Yes.
How do we define by the term justice? We are talking about justice uncompromised. What do we define by the term justice?
Okay.
As a freedom, how do we define justice?
Thank you very much, and I apologize for coming late as well.
No issue.
I'm extending my greeting to all the panelists and the sons and daughters of Africa at large. The term justice is equal treatment to all, irrespective of your background within a given territory, because the right of all citizens to enjoy and cherish the right to live in freedom, liberty, and bliss is a must in any society, because we make laws in order to regulate our affairs. We know very well we are not equal in the society, and the way we are not equal, and that's how we are living as a people, and we need a guiding tool that is going to protect everybody, irrespective of your status in society, and that is the law. So the laws should be just. There shouldn't be any favor. There shouldn't be any compromise when it comes to law. But we, in our recent situation in Africa, our systems are so corrupt that justice are compromised all over. Because even in the society, your rightful thing you will be deprived of because of your ethno-linguistic, because of your affiliation, or either because of your religion, in fact. So, and we all know very well we cannot belong to all concepts, but that shouldn't mean we should be differentiated among ourselves. Yes, the right of all citizens to have fair treatment under the law, that is justice. The right of all sovereign citizens to have land allocation in a given community, that is what is justice. Few people should not be enjoying at the...
Yes.
We share one thing in common, that is the state. And it is the responsibility of the state to protect and serve the welfare of everybody in the state, irrespective of where he or she belongs to. And it is the responsibility of the state to share our resources equally among every individual, because we all should have a social safety net as far as justice is concerned. We all should wake up and have a place to sleep. We all should have food to eat. We all should have a quality education according to every citizen in a given country. To me, that is justice. Because we shouldn't leave the situation for people to fend for themselves when there is a resource in a situation in a country. And politicians or leaders, they seek to take care of the office, and they swear to protect the welfare, and they swear to do justice to every individual in the situation in the country, in a given country. So therefore, justice should be a priority, because the injustices in the African continent prevailing are all inherited by a system that was left behind. So that system, the divide and rule tactics, is not good for Africa. That is not justice. So in our adversaries are having a system in place that is protecting their people, and we are seeing that, and our leaders are seeing that. So I think we should all come to the change of mindset as African and believe that our country belongs to us, and our leaders are choosing to protect us irrespective of our affiliation. Because you are there as a head of state, you are taking charge of the country, and not everybody will support you in your agenda. But that doesn't mean you should deter them or deny them of their privileges in a country. That is injustice, and that is prevailing in Africa. All against that as a nation.
Thank you very much, Freedom Giant.
Yes, I hope I made.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, before we come back to maybe a question to you again.
Okay.
We'll go to the next panelist.
Okay.
Freedom Giant Joe from Uganda Anatomy. African states and governments working to achieve the objectives enshrined under the African Union Charter in 25th May 1963. Are they working, the government, the states, the politicians, the leadership of Africa, are they working towards the objectives that the 32 head of states assemble in Addis Ababa to, to have this charter? Are they ensuring that these objectives are being achieved today in Africa? Freedom Giant Joe.
Well, thank you very much for the wonderful question. When you look at Article 2 of the OAU Charter, you find 5 purposes spelled out. The first one being to promote the unity and the solidarity of the African states. The second one is to coordinate and intensify their cooperation and efforts to achieve a better life for the people of Africa. The third one is to defend their sovereignty, their territorial integrity and independence. And the fourth is to eradicate all forms of colonialism from Africa. And the last one is to promote international cooperation, having due regard to the Charter of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. These are very beautiful purposes on paper. Now, the African heads of state and government, in the pursuit of the purposes, have registered some achievements, like the decolonization of Africa, combating apartheid, defense of member state sovereignty and territorial integrity, encouraging socioeconomic development through regional economic communities like East African Community, SADC, ECOWAS, and others. Now, the day these guys met in Addis Ababa on the 25th of May, 1963, Kwame Nkrumah told them that they should leave Addis Ababa with one Africa, united Africa, one army, one government, one capital city. But his colleagues who were greedy for power did not listen to him. If they had listened to him, Africa would be a very different continent today. The world would be very different today. History would be very different today. And the OAU and now African Union would have achieved much more than the founders envisioned. But because they did not listen to Kwame Nkrumah, the OAU lost the script, and the purposes for which it was formed have never been achieved to a greater extent, as expected. According to purpose number 1, the founders claimed that they desired to promote the unity and solidarity of African states. Now, the fact that they failed to unite themselves meant they became hypocrites, claiming to be promoting unity when they themselves never united. The purposes for which the OAU was formed look very beautiful on paper, but in practice, African states haven't stayed true to the purposes. Today, we are yet to see the unity and solidarity of the African states. We are yet to see the eradication of all forms of colonialism in Africa. We are still under the yoke of colonial masters. Forget about the flag independence that we got. There's no real independence. Do we have economic independence in any African country? Are we free to move in Africa? No. Do we have control over our resources? No. Are we self-reliant in Africa? No. Don't we rely on foreign aid? Yes, we do. Aren't we in heavy debts? There's no African country that is not heavily indebted to the outside continents. While the purposes for the formation of the OAU were ambitious, African politicians have largely betrayed Africans in the pursuit of the purposes due to greed, selfishness, and politics. Achieving the purposes required unquestionable unity and solidarity among the African leaders. That unity and solidarity have never been witnessed. No single African state can achieve the purposes alone for Africa, leave alone for their own country. As long as those who govern us don't unite and collectively pursue the interests of Africans, we will forever remain slaves. For most of the African leaders, greed is their creed. Therefore, they cannot fight for the needs of the people. Now, when you look at Agenda 2063, aspiration number 3, states that by 2063, Africa will have undergone a deepening of the culture of good governance, democratic values, gender equality, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law. Hey, this is so beautiful on paper, but what is on the ground? In Africa, we preach water, but drink wine. Currently, the African Union is an instrument which is full of preachers of water, but drinkers of wine. Consider the fact that in some African countries, people have voted without internet. For example, Uganda in 2021, people voted without internet. Now, people are being oppressed under the watch of African governments and the African Union. In countries in which elections are openly rigged, the African Union have often come out to say without shame that the elections were free and fair. So the African Union, as it is today, is a hypocritical institution that does not really serve the interests of Africans. It only appears to be serving the interests of Africans, but in real sense, it is being controlled by remotes in countries outside the continents. I look forward to the day on which we will stay true to the principles, policies, and laws we have on paper. In Africa, we have some of the best principles, laws, and policies on papers, but we are not true to them. In short, the African leaders, they appear to be working to achieve the purposes for which the OAU was formed. But in real sense, because they are not united, they are fighting for their personal interests, mostly. Thank you very much.
If we should go by the objectives, outlined in the charter in 1963 in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. Now you see how beautiful those objectives are, like you outlined them, talking about political, diplomatic cooperation, talking about educational and cultural cooperation, health, sanitations, and nutritional cooperation, talking about scientific and technical cooperation. Now, if we should go about those things and the unity of Africa, now it's a very good thing. And to be truthful to ourselves, these beautiful things are not being achieved today in Africa. Now, if we pose the question now to all the African states, I'm talking about the African country, now you'll find out that none of these African states is achieving this thing. If you come to my country, Nigeria, you see that it's a total mess. A lot of things are going wrong. There is no unity. One tribe is claiming to be more superior than the other. So how do we try to achieve this unity, these beautiful things outlined in the charter? Now, because like you made mention, the agenda 2063 is it's a projection of what they want Africa to be by before the year 2063. Are we really working to achieve this agenda?
Well, thank you very much for the
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Now, one of the biggest problems we have in Africa is politics. And where there's too much politics, there is too little leadership. And this is what we have in Africa. Now, leadership unites people, politics divides people. So we are politicians occupying offices of leadership. Politicians cannot do what leaders are supposed to do. So we should never expect these politicians to actually unite us to achieve the Agenda 2063. When you look at one of the aspirations, they claim that by 2063, the guns will be silent in Africa. But then any right-thinking African can see that by 2063, the guns will even be louder than they are today. If what is happening on the ground doesn't change, if we don't change the status quo, then the guns will be louder. So this is hypocrisy. So the solution is we need leadership. We need leadership in all spheres of life. We need leadership. We need leaders to occupy offices of leadership. We cannot expect leaders to do what politicians do and politicians to do what leaders do. So we need leaders. at all levels, starting from the grassroots, from the villages. Those who focus on the interests of the people, not their personal interests, those are the people who will unite our people to achieve the common agenda. Thank you.
Remember what you said, that we need leaders to occupy the position of leadership rather than politicians. Now, you find out that in Africa today, people who have the ability, the capability to lead the affairs of our country are not given the privilege, are not given the opportunity to lead. Those who have money and those who, who can influence the community are the people who are given the opportunity. So how then do we achieve this? Because this continue over and over. Election will come and you see people who are not questioned, occupying it. How do we intend to achieve this? Because this is going on every day and in every state of Africa. How do we intend to achieve this? Freedom Giant. Job.
Well, one of the biggest problems in the world, and in Africa in particular, is ignorance. When you see people abandoning leaders for politicians, it is due to ignorance. If for example, you, with your beautiful ideas, you contest to be elected, people may never elect you because you may not have the resources that other people will have for buying the voters. This is ignorance of the highest order. And ignorance is the greatest disease we have in Africa. And so the solution to ignorance is knowledge. So we need to educate our people. Because how can somebody be given a bar of soap and then, or a packet of salt, and then they elect someone who will make them suffer for the next 5 years? What kind of superiority is that? This is what we need to change. And we can only change that when we give our people proper education, starting from right where we are with what we have. Only knowledge will solve that problem. Because as long as people vote based on what someone has given them, they will never get the leaders they are supposed to get. And the problems we have will continue. We should never expect things to change unless we change. We are the change we have been waiting for. So we need to change how we think, how we act, and then the results we get will change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will leave this with you. Our former president, I'm talking about General Muhammadu Buhari, once said that change begins with you. Change begins with you, begins with me. So if I should change my way of life, if I should change my way of doing things and do it the better way, I think Africa will be a better place for every one of us to dwell. Thank you very much.
Our people themselves should be the change. Like Job was saying here, I will describe it as politics of patronage, because people are expecting a politician to give them bag of rice or bag of sugar, or to give them a small to be able to vote for them. So this has been a challenge, especially in the Gambia here. We belong to a political party that we will never do such a practice, because the practice is not right. So what is not right, even to do what is not right, to come to the helm of leadership is not correct in any means. You have to continue doing what is right until you are able to do it. So to give people a bag of rice or sugar or token to vote for you is happening all over Africa, and I can manifest that in this country here. It is happening. We call it politics of patronage. So people will tell you, you don't give me this, so I will not vote for you. And whilst this is a position of service, it's not to enrich yourself, because when you go there as a leader, you are catered for, you are created necessarily, and you have a package, all your kids and everything will be taken care of by the taxpayers. So in return, you should provide them a service. You should not be there just to amass wealth and enrich yourself. So if you use patronage to go to that leadership, therefore, you are going to, because most of them are supported by corporations and huge entities. They give you money. Next minute, when you come to power, you give them contracts. You are going to make concession to them. So obviously, you will not serve the interest, because you have used somebody's money to be able to get to that end. And now when you get there, you have to focus on him. So the problem of the people will no more be the priority. And that has been the trend. So I just want to add that on top of what you have said here, that's been the serious problem here. So we cannot leave it to the politicians. It's the people ourselves will come together and form a cooperative society and know that we are the one who put our governments in place, and when they are not serving our interests, we can take them from that position without any quarrel or violence. We can do it politically because collective power, when people are organized, when they are powerful, they are more than they are powerful than any soldier. So that is what Africa needs. We need to come together and force our governments to come together and unite, because unity is where our strength is as a continent. So if we are not united, we shall never achieve anything as far as Africa is concerned.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Freedom Giant Ibrima. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's go to the question on the agenda of today's meeting. Okay, coming to Freedom Legend, Kwame. Is order being enforced in the political anatomies of our countries? Is order being enforced? If yes, why? And with examples. And if no, why? And with examples. Are order being enforced?
Behave as if we are in a jungle. And for that matter, we need to be ordered around. We need to be told what we need to do before we fall in line. When we talk about order, we are looking at, for me, I would like to look at it from the context of political systems and governance. And this, to a very large extent, relates to peace, as a state of peace. It relates to having stability and adherence to established laws, rules set aside to govern us, and constitutional processes that will help provide a predictable framework where exercise of power and authority shall manifest. Now, we are trying to look at order, but hitherto, we try to look at the objectives of the OAU as Honorable Job had stated earlier. There are certain challenges that our predecessors have seen. And for that matter, they call out the AU Charter or the OAU to help order our steps. This is meant to bring about some level of order in our lifestyle, some level of order in our politics, some level of order in our social life. Looking at what Honorable Job stated, the OAU was meant to coordinate efforts to achieve a better life. And you cannot achieve a better life in the state of the jungle, which means that the OAU's intention is meant to structure a lifestyle that will let everyone win in the state. That wouldn't look down on some individual in the state and promote a few ahead of others. The OAU was meant to coordinate efforts to achieve a better life for the people of Africa. And that is order. It is meant to defend our sovereignty as a group of people, to make sure that order and justice prevail among us. It is meant to eradicate all forms of colonialism, including the neo-colonialism that we are facing on the continent. But what do we see today? Levels of injustice that are very prevalent on all shores of Africa. And most of this, I want to align with our political system. If you want to talk about order in full, then there are some key aspects that we need to look at. One major thing that we should be looking at is the rule of law, all right? Where I think it was propounded by, is that Baron Moteski? Okay. That says that what? There is no one above the law. All are equal before the law. All citizens, including government, officials, and leaders, are subjected to the law. They are supposed to abide by the same set of laws and legal principles that establish the state. Every actions and decisions that have to be taken, all right, must be what? Instructed by this rule of law. That is one of the major things that brings about orderliness in society. There must also be institutional stability. That's the existence of institution where the separation of powers can lay bare. The separation of powers is meant to check power-drunk institutions. The judiciary must be in its corner to operate. The legislature must take its action. The executive must play its role. That is orderliness. There must be constitutional adherence in all quarters. There is no one, you see, in our African context, for instance, there are situations where a politician will back home series of millions, and then in another extent, a low person, a peasant, will steal cassava, and that peasant will be aligned for court, and then the politician will be working freely. Is that constitutional adherence? What did the Constitution say when it comes to these things? What are we bringing out there? How are we establishing this kind of order that we needed in our society? It is not in existence. Peaceful transitions, Bobo. Look at our brother African countries. Mali, Burkina Faso. There is a stepping of what? A conflict all around us. Nigeria, Ghana, Togo. There can be upsurge at any point in time in Togo, looking at what is happening. Is that the peaceful transitions we are looking at? Public order, it's becoming a thing of the past. So as a matter of fact, when we want to look at order, I think we are far from it, okay? When we want to go by what is happening in Africa, let us just look at just the past few years and the quantum of conflict that came to pass in the form of coup d'etats. Sudan had its shares in 2021 and 2023. Burkina Faso in 2022, it has its own share. That's somewhere in January 2022, when some soldiers ousted President Roch Marc Christian, all right, over his handling of the Islamist insurgencies. And in September 2022, Captain Traore also seized power again on the same issue. Mali 2020-2021, we've seen what happened. Guinea is not an exception in 2021. Chad is an example. And all of these things continue to happen. Meanwhile, we say we have an Organization of African Union, or we have an African Union. And these head of states have once sat down and said that let us construct a united Africa that will project the dreams of Africa, that will make sure that justice prevails in Africa, that will make sure that order prevails in Africa. But we sit aloof and see all this manner of disorder, conflict happening on our shores. There is no way we can see all of this and say that there is order going on. I always like to cite my country, Ghana, as an example, if we really want to say there is order. Ghana is one of the countries in West Africa that is believed to be very peaceful. To some extent, we have respected our constitution since 1992, and there have been transition of multi-party democracy. We have witnessed successive peaceful transfer of power, and the latest is between the ex-world president, which is John Dramani Mahama, and the ruling president, which is Nana Akufo-Addo. And after this, the country has some democratic institutions like an independent electoral commission and the judiciary, blah, blah, blah. But while Ghana is seen to be one of the best when it comes to maintaining order or maintaining peace, we also have our share of disorder. And this disorder cut across Africa. And recently in this 2022-2023, there was a whole lot of widespread of protests and demonstration by citizens and civil society. Why? Because some few elites in power are enjoying at the expense of majority. Okay, life in Ghana has become very unbearable. Nigeria, unbearable. Mali have to go into an alliance with Russia. Burkina Faso, coup d'etat. Why? Life is unbearable. Okay, the countries for Africa's economic woes has reached the top notch. High inflation, rising living costs, and debt crisis. Recently, we call it head shaving, okay, where how will I say, public servants who are on retirement bonds have to be used in the name of what our IMF deal to make sure that we stabilize the economy. And there have been so much demonstrations here and there. What for? Because citizens are suffering. There is no order. You hear MPs caught with series of dollars under their bed, whilst a lot of citizens are going hungry. Demonstration turns violence. Occupy Jolobi House, Arise Ghana demo, and clashes between government agencies and protesters. All of these things are bringing about what? Disorderliness. Now, where are they coming from in the first place? I really align with what Job said earlier, that we have refused to understand that at this point in time, we need leaders instead of politicians. Wherever politicians are, there is always disorder, there is injustice, there is looting, there is depression. They always bring about the new order that is pleasing to them and their family. If we have a good leader that cares about the people, that leads, that pull the crowd along towards greener pastures, we wouldn't be having these protests and all of that. But because these politicians don't care about the masses, all they care about is to build estates for themselves and their family. There are always demonstrations. No one feels good and still complain. So for the fact that you see people complaining, citizens complaining, should tell you that what? There is something that is not right. All right. In Ghana, we have seen a lot of chieftaincy conflicts as well. And these chiefs are established by our constitution. If you look at the 1992 Constitution, Article 270, it tells you how the constitution revered the position of our chieftaincy. But we have decided to what? Merge chieftaincy into politics. And this has brought about death in so many angles of this country. When you go to Boku, there are chieftaincy disputes. When you go to Dagbon, there have been chieftaincy disputes. When you go to Bimbela, Bolgatanga, Boli, and a whole lot of death has occurred with regards to this. There were nothing better has been done about it. There is no order. There have been land issue in the Volta region concerning the Kronias and the Alabama. And as I speak to you, these issues are still there. There was a recent one in the OT region, in the Volta region. Volta North those days, now OT region. Lives have been lost. Is this order? This is not order. This is just Ghana. There is no order in the country. Togo, our neighboring country here in Ghana. This Nyasin-based family has hijacked the politics or the leadership of Togo for close to how many years? So many decades. I think getting to 6 decades. So 60 years going. The father first, now son. And when it's time for him to leave power, he has to what? Massage the constitution of the country to benefit him. And only God knows when this man is going to leave power. Now, how do you expect the citizens to react to this? They can't be calm. You can't suppress people the rest of their lives. You don't own them. Okay, you are not, you see, kind of, you don't purchase them. They are not in slavery. We thought we have been emancipated. We thought Africa has seen the light. We thought we have left the era of colonialism. We can lead ourselves. We can decide for ourselves. We are now free. Where is the freedom? So this lack of order that we see on the continent, it's our own handmade. It's because some people are more favored than others. In Ghana recently, I think in 2020, there have been separatist movements where the Western Togoland, which is the Volta region, are seeking separation from Ghana. Now, that brought about disorderliness. Okay, that wasn't order because it was trying to interfere in the affairs of the peace of this country, and the government must quickly come to the aid to make sure that that does not breed any extreme conflict in the country. But why would such people or those persons pop up one day and say that they want to separate themselves from that? It is because the way the leadership of the country, okay, is going, it's not helping. It is because they are suffering and they feel that something better can be done than what is happening. And what would that bring? Assuming the situation wasn't arrested, it would have brought serious conflict and Ghana would have been in a mess by now. Should we always sit back and wait for a conflict to come, knowing very well what we need to do as leaders? No, we shouldn't do that. Electoral violence all over. During this Nyansimbe election in Togo, I was privy to the fact that the Catholic Church was even prevented to observe the election, and one journalist was expelled or whatever. Why? What are you hiding? What are you hiding? If there is any escalation within the populace, how will it end? Loss of life. For what? Just because one single family have seen themselves as the supreme of all being, they assume themselves as the repository of knowledge, and no one can rule Togo than them. Where exactly are we going? They'll climb on podiums, stages, take a bite on what they feel is order and justice, and the moment they climb down those podiums, they behave like animals. They behave as if they don't know or they were not the one that just spoke. Justice, order is nowhere to be found in Africa. Order is nowhere to be found in the political anatomy of Africa. We've lost it as a group of people. We've lost it. Nigeria, look at your election between pronounced Tinubu as the victor. It has been a whole lot of saga. It has been a whole lot of saga. Look at Boko Haram. You see, in politics, what we know is that we call it the Leviathan. The people believe that they all can't rise to the power. They can't all rise to leadership. So they have given their power, or they have confided their power in one person, believing that the person is going to protect them in all spheres of life. Look at what Boko Haram is doing in Nigeria. This problem has been long overdue. And if Nigeria alone can't handle this, why then do we have ECOWAS? Why then do we have EU? What are they doing? Are they trying to tell us that Boko Haram and other militants that are frustrating the African anatomy cannot be suppressed by the whole of OEU or EU? What is preventing them? Or are they trying to tell us that, oh, okay, that is a form of a source of their power, or these militants have a bearing in politics that they use for their own personal aggrandizement. So there is no way they are going to even stop them in any way. But probably that is it. Because I don't seem to understand some of these occurrences. Seriously. And the annoying thing is that We sit every day and we talk about this. CNN, we say it, the social media, we'll talk about it. The individuals will speak about it, but the problem persists. Look at Mali. All right. Couple of coup d'etat. That's Assimi Goïta. Then how do we call him? Badndao, Buba Keita, all of them in 2020, and then in 2021. Where are we heading to? Burkina Faso is not an exception. Where Traoré is not a president. Right? There is something that we need to do. If you ask me, I will tell you that we don't have any order within the continent. We don't have any order. From the individuals, that's the citizens, all the way to the leadership. We are scattered. We are without aim. We are not consistent with our dreams. We don't even know what we want anymore. And this is life. If only leadership, okay, can realign their policies, can check themselves, we believe that we are all equal, all right? And the national cake needs to be shared equally. I think most of these things will be a thing of the past, all right? Umar said it all. He said, you see, there should be equal rights given to everyone, irrespective of your affiliate, the concept you affiliate yourself with, the religion you align with. There should be what? Equal rights given to everybody. I don't think if these things happen, we'll have all these issues of orderliness or disorderliness on the continent or whatever they are. So if you ask me, like I said, there is no order on the continent. And for us to be able to work towards it, we have to revisit our leadership style. It is no more an issue of democracy or a dictatorship. Even the military regimes seems to be doing better than the democratic regimes. I still align with Job on this. We need leaders to do away with this kind of disorder, conflict, death, injustice on the continent. We need leaders. Leaders who can project the major idea of the AU, the reason why AU was formed. The leaders that can toe the lane of our past leaders, like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, like Haile Selassie, like Sankara. These people's dreams needs to be what? Resurrected. When we follow in their stead, and we make sure that everyone within the country, within the anatomy, accepts what they deserve. I think I'm not expecting a utopian continent where there will be no conflict. But all I'm trying to say is that there will be a level of what? Order among us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Middle Legend Video. Thank you, thank you. You've spoken very well. Now, I believe what you said. I agree with what you said, that there is no order in the continent of Africa. There is no order in the continent of Africa, because looking at everything that is happening around us, you see that there is no order in the continent of Africa. Now, if we should have orderliness in our continent, then we should have the right people in the position of leadership. I agree with you. I agree with you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Because our time is fast spent, I will be going to the next question. Why is injustice prevailing in the world? What can we do to ensure a global anatomy full of order? Why is injustice prevailing? Because with what we are seeing today, there are a lot of injustice all over the world. Why is injustice prevailing? How can we ensure a global, anatomy full of order? Can this be achieved? I am putting it to all the panelists. can this be achieved?
Like you rightly said, recently the world all over is full of injustices. Injustices is everywhere, even in homes and communities. So to me, right now, we should change the manner and way of governance. This westernized democracy is not solving our problem. And the westernized educated elites who
Can I come in?
Yeah, you can start now.
Okay. I believe that justice and order must be a way of life. We have looked at things from the bigger perspective for far too long, and I think that has been our problem. You see, when you go to other countries, especially the Western world, I want to create an analogy where you find them and their environment very neat. Then you begin to question yourself as to why they are able to maintain that level of sanity and sanctity than others. It is because from the very beginning of their upbringing, they've been cultured to be like that. Okay. I think in our part of the world, we do have a statement, or we do have an adage that says that charity begins at home. Okay, which means that by our growing up, we need to be nurtured to behave in a particular way. It is high time we look at that when it comes to being orderliness, when it comes to orderliness. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that we need to inculcate into our children the spirit of see something, say something, okay? The spirit of being upright in whatever we do, okay? We need to sensitize our conscience so that we don't need anyone to come to let us know that, oh, the path I'm towing, it's not the best. No, okay? We need to have that inward feeling, that enlightenment within ourselves that this is what I'm supposed to do. Because believe you me, okay, the leaders that we have now will one day be gone, and there will be a new crop of leadership. What will be their legacy? Or what, and those need, if I say theirs, then I'm trying to exclude myself. What will be our legacy? And after us, the incoming one, what will be their legacy? All right? At where it stands right now, to be very honest with you, I do not see any change with the crop of leadership that we have. The best thing that we need to do, like Karl Marx would say, is to overthrow them, is to let them go, is to tell them that enough is enough. They've ruled over us for long. Look at the Ugandan president, Yoweri Museveni. For how long has he been in power? Okay, so if you want to say that, oh, probably if you're giving someone enough time to lead, the person can bring about the policies that he envisaged and be able to accomplish them. Museveni has been in power, I think, since 1986 or so. He has been there during the period of Idi Amin, if I'm not lying. All right, but what is happening? Have we witnessed full orderliness in Uganda anatomy? Is that full justice in the political anatomy of Uganda? Look at Togo. Look at Nasimbe Yadema. Do you get it? So I feel like we need to resensitize the youth of today, all right, to be upright in whatever they do. And then we have to stage an overthrow. And that overthrow, either through the ballot board, in as much as I do not support coup d'etats, but I like what is happening in Burkina Faso. All right. It's a clear change of heart. And if things continue that way, if what I expect to happen continues, I think there could be a change in that part of Africa. These old people need to be gone. We need to get rid of them through the ballot paper, elections, get rid of them. Let's conscientize ourselves that they cannot continue to buy us with a few pennies and then come to power only to live at our expense. That is the only way we can deal with other. And then the new crop of leaders that will go into leadership should have a different concept about Africans, to have a different concept about leadership. If not, the trend will continue. So I think, first of all, the ball comes back to us. We freedom legends, the youth growing up today, need to actually align ourselves and do that link. That is the only way we can change things. If not, I'm scared. I don't see any change coming in this one. Thank you.
Freedom legend video. Now, with what you said, you know, in Africa, the only way we can, you know, push away this crop of leaders is either through election or by coup d'etat, like what is going on in other African country today. But in the case of Nigeria, you know, they already know who will win the election even before the day of the election. So how do we, you know, how do we solve this? How do we push them out from the system? We have a man of over 90 years ruling a country that is over 200 people, 200, over 200 people, 200 million people in the world, the populous black nation in the world. A man that's not, you know, capable of handling the affair of this nation, or is the one ruling us today as a president. If we should go by, you know, pushing them out through bylaws, now this man wouldn't have attained the position, would have been someone else. But like we all know, I don't think if you watch what happened in the Uganda election last time, you know, Bobby Wine was, you know, even hold on hostage in his house, and he could not even smell the election ground, and all sorts of things was done during that period. In Nigeria here, you can't even come out. Some polling units, you can't even express yourself. If you're not voting for super person, just go out. How do we solve this problem?
Thank you. You see, this issue you raise is not only pertinent to Nigeria, Uganda, or other African countries. Even in my country, Ghana, it is the same. All right, to the extent that we have to go to the law court for election petition twice. And only God knows what the results look like. Okay. But what I believe is, okay, if any changes can happen, it has to start with the people. Because look, there are institutions that were put in place to conduct elections, to make sure that elections are free and fair. You have the electoral commissioners, okay, who are supposed to do their job and do it well. But what conscience did they bring to the table? What even informed the kind of decisions that they made? They were bought. Their conscience were bought. That is what it means. Because the people who went in there to vote knew very well that they voted for this person A, B, C to lead over them because they saw the person's competence. But at the end of the day, the powerhouse tells you that these are the people you voted for. It's just like going to the market, buying for A, before you get home, you are given B. Okay, so the only thing that we need to do now is to make sure that the individual, ourselves, are up to the task. Okay, I believe probably in every country there are polling agents. When you are in for a particular party, a leader, and you believe that that is a person that needs to come and change things in your country, or within your constituency, or within your region, or within your state, you should try and make sure that every term counts. But if yourself, you are biased, you don't value orderliness, and it can be bought at any point in time. I do not think that we'll be able to see any form of change whatsoever. All right, so it needs to start with us. The institutions are there, but these institutions are manned by people, and these people are you and I. So if you and I can have a twist of mind, a change of mind towards how we want Africa to be, what we want Africa to become, where we want to see Africa, then we will be able to act within that lane to make sure that it happens. If not, whatever we see today will happen again. And mind you, this thing starts from school. These issues start from school. I was a student leader, and I know what I'm talking about. This thing starts from school. Taboo touch, the disorderliness. So we need to first of all acquaint ourselves to orderliness before we can even say we are causing order in the greater anatomy. Thank you. Thank you
very much. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the next question because of time. As a freedom giant, as a honorable member of the African Voices here, what do freedom giant do in the midst of uncontrolled corruption? Now we are going into this of corruption. Everything we are talking about boils down to corruption. Injustice is corruption. What do we do in the midst of uncontrolled corruption like we have in every other African country today? What do we do? Honorable Ibrima, bringing the question to you, sir. Honorable Ibrima. Okay.
Thank you. Regarding the way forward for the continent, I think the manner and where we select our governments, we need to change the system. That's what I'm trying to say here. We need a complete overhaul of our systems, because right now in certain countries, for instance, the Gambia here, we have an executive president. The president have the power to appoint and dismiss without any checks. So those kind of systems will only entrench corruption and bad leadership. Because if you are not loyal to the president, you are not serving their interests, obviously you will be terminated or sacked from that office. So only loyalists are serving in the government. Political loyalists of presidents are serving in the government. I think we need to change the whole system. I believe in a system whereby representatives or people who are going to serve us in cabinets should be scrutinized and chosen by the people. When I say by the people, are our representatives at the parliament. We have to vet them, check their qualification, and check their track record, and find out whether they have any criminality or malpractice in their records. So those kind of people should not be in charge of our affairs. And that has been the case in this political landscape. Those who are taking this political office are being compensated as loyalists. They are compensated as loyalists. So to me, for a president to appoint his loyalists to serve him, know that very well the masses of the interest will not be served. So, and this has been the trend. So we need to change the whole system. We have to advocate for a system of governance that is a cooperative system whereby every sovereign citizen is equal. And all our sovereign resources should be accumulated by the indigenous country. Because every country in Africa have a sovereign wealth. But if you look at the operations or the procurement of those sovereign wealth, it's like to issue license to foreign companies and they will come and give you pittance in your own country and your own resources. And for every country to be a debt-free country, you need to accumulate your own sovereign wealth. So for me, that is what I'm advocating for in the Gambia here, and that's what we are advocating for, a system change. We need a cooperative bank that will empower the people to own means of production and involve the people to be part of the decision-making. So that's what we are advocating here in 1987, and we are still advocating for that, a cooperative system whereby we will accumulate our sovereign wealth. I believe when sovereign wealth is utilized to empower citizens and its own free interest, and government will step in and create production centers. We need to produce as a continent. We are not producing, so this is the hardship in our country. Citizens are not producing. People are not producing. So we rely on outside to survive as a continent. So to be honest, for us to desire what we want will be very difficult. Be very difficult as a continent. I'm not talking about as a nation, this is the whole continent of Africa. Which country is producing whatever it requires or basic necessities? No country is doing that. We rely on outside market to support Africa. So a system change in every corner of Africa is what we need. We need to change the way we think. We need to change the way we even grow our foods. Because look at it today. Our African farmers are being trapped in this GMO seed, which is not good for our land, and it is not good for our continent as well. So we need a change in system in order to be able to address our the nation. Because the last time I was trying to explain something, my connection went off. You know, the level of corruption in Africa. I was saying in the Gambia here, for instance, the Constitution empowers the Auditor General to prosecute or to report any malpractice to the police so that they can investigate and eventually prosecute. But right now, who is appointing the Auditor General is the executive. And if any malpractice in government is going to be, the fingers are going to be pointing to the executive. So therefore, the system we inherit from colonial masters is not serving our interests, definitely. Thank you, guys.
Our constitution in so many African countries today, gives the president so much power to do and undo, to appoint and dismiss whosoever, even to the point of the judiciary. So even our judicial system has been compromised, that they serve the interests of the president and the executive. Now, because of that, I think there should be a change in the constitutional system. We need to have a new constitution that will have the interests of everyone, that will give everyone the right to be part of the government. Now, we have executives that we are supposed to question, but we can't question them because the Constitution has given them so much power that even when you try to question them, they will arrest you. We can't do even a common protest in our communities, in our states. In some states, they've enacted laws that you cannot even protest as a citizen. It's our civic right that when things are not going right, we have to air our voice, we have to speak out either in protest, which is in peaceful protest. But in some places in Nigeria today, you can't protest. You can't even voice out what is going wrong in the system. So that is one of the things that we are going through. I strongly believe with what Honorable Ibrahim said, there should be a change in our constitution. There should be a change. Okay, let's go straight to the next question. What role do we play to ensure the upkeep of justice in Africa? What are the roles? I'm putting it to Honorable Job. What are the roles that we need to play as African giants to ensure justice in Africa? Remember, nobody talks about justice. Everyone is talking about peace, peace, peace in the world. We need justice. Without justice prevailing, there will be. So, what are the roles that we need to play to ensure the upkeep of justice in the continent of Africa? Okay, while we wait for him, let me direct this question to Honorable Kwame. In this Israel-Hamas war, is justice being exploited? Or the institutions are using it properly? Now, this war has lasted for long now. A lot of deaths, casualty, destruction of properties and all that. What is your take on this issue of war in Israel and Gaza?
This war has been, well, I think after the Holocaust, okay, or I should say since the Holocaust or somewhere, the Second World War, you and I were not even born at the time. We were not even born at the time. As a matter of fact, what I will affect is the fact that to this Israel-Hamas war. Okay, because someone will be thinking, what exactly is the problem for this war to be recurring over and over again, with the loss of many lives and all of that? Now, when you look at this very war, that makes up the modern day Israel and Palestine territory was historically, as they claim, Palestine. Okay, and somewhere in the early 20th century, history will tell us that both the Jewish and then Arab nationalist movements made a claim to this territory, which led to a rising tension and violence between these two communities. But then, after World War II and the Holocaust, that's around the 1945, it has become almost synonymous with the murder, or how will I put it, of the Jews after the Holocaust. The national support grew for the establishment of what? A Jewish homeland, which was still under the British colonial rule at the time. But within the 1947, if I'm right, the United Nations proposed a plan where they will be able to partition or Palestine into separate place, and then or partition Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, so to partition them from each other. Now, the Jews accepted the plan, but the Arabs rejected it, which led to the 1948 Arab-Israeli war. Now, Israel controlled most of the territories, which was not which was not in the interest of our fellow Palestinians, right? So the UN partition plan didn't happen, and the plan actually that was meted out was that probably this part of land would belong to the Israelites and the other part of the land would belong to the Palestinians. But since that plan didn't work, the Israelites happened to take more of the land, and that include the Gaza Strip, all right? And then the West Bank also came under the Jordanian control. Now, the fights for the Gaza Strip and the West Bank are considered part of the historical land of Palestine, and they hold immense significance for both Israel and then the Palestinians. Now, if you're asking me you're asking my view on if there have been any kind of justice in this issue, I will tell you that no, I have not really seen any justice going on in this issue. Why would I say that? Justice is not being served adequately. But before I go there, let us look at the effects this war is even having. When you look at even inwardly, wherever there is war, look at the Russian-Ukraine war, for instance. Wherever there is war, all right, there is massive civilian casualties. People die. For what? Just for a piece of land. Just because people don't agree to stay together, people decide not to use their wits, but they decide to sort to artilleries, killing innocent children and women. All right. So a major effect of this war is massive casualties, civilian casualties, displacement of the humanitarian crisis. And this is because of what Israel and Palestine decide to bring themselves to. There's widespread of destruction from infrastructure, housing, schools, hospitals. The economy is a mess, economic disorder, and disease, poverty, unemployment, food insecurity. And you see, we are looking at all of this, and people who are supposed to come up to the game, who are supposed to make sure that order, justice prevail in the situation are quiet. When you look at other exogenous factors, we believe right now that we are in a global village. And in a global village, whatever happened in this part of the hemisphere affects other parts of the hemisphere. We were just here in this world where COVID-19 spread from China, and before we could know it, we all went on lockdown. That shows to tell you that the problem of one country is a problem to the other country. The war that is hitting Hamas and then Israel should be our concern. But how does it affect us? One, global trade. International trade is disrupted. International trade is disrupted because in as much as we say that we want to be economically independent, it is not everything that we can produce as a country. And this is where we find ourselves. We are not even producing for ourselves. So some of the things that we need to depend on from other countries, it's not even coming in. We can say that because we want to be independent, and so probably we need to starve ourselves to it. You understand? So there's disruption in trade, large-scale protests, diplomatic tensions between Israel and many countries, particularly in the Islamic world. Now, talking about justice, there are institutions set aside, all right? For instance, the UN Security Council is meant to play an arbitrary role in this dispute, where they are supposed to sit on the issue and then come up with whoever is at fault and how to go about the whole thing so that the issue can be solved amicably. But the United States, all right, is always vetoing ceasefire resolution critical to Israel, because we already know their long-standing, how will I put it, diplomacy. Whatever concerns Israel, US will always stand by it. We already know that US has a very long alliance with Israel, all right? And the US will support Israel for its democratic values and strategic importance in the Middle East. We know the interest of US in the Middle East saga. When it comes to domestic politics in the US, they always support Israel. It's very popular. It is not a new thing. All right, US will always avoid anything anti-Israel, any politics that is anti-Israel. And it's also a Middle East strategy to me, by what I can see. The US relies on Israel to help counter threats that will come from that region. So yes, of course, US is part of the veto powers. And for that matter, should set itself back and allow UN to do their job, but they will not do it because they have their own interest in the whole game. They don't care. They might come online to say a whole lot of things that they care about whatever war it is that is happening between these two nations, and their interest is to resolve issues amicably. They care about the loss of lives when it comes to children and women, but it is yet to manifest. Nothing is happening because look at when this thing started. US has always been there, and we are not seeing any change. So I can tell you on authority that there is pure injustice going on when it comes to these nations, and the peace talk preference is not working. Nothing, negotiations is either in the interest of Israel or in the interest of nobody at all. So I think we need to revisit that. Okay, the lives that have been lost in that part of the region of the world is something else. And for that matter, the UN resolutions must take another leap. The US must withdraw and allow those who are given power, the institutions that are given power, to do their job, to make sure that lives are protected and this conflict is resolved amicably. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that response. Looking at what is happening in Israel, between Israel and Hamas. Hamas is one of the political movements or Islamic movements in Palestine. You know, that is really one part of the Palestine, the Gaza itself. So this war, like you said, you know, has brought done so many things. The economy, has caused a whole lot of harm to the citizen and death. You know, the last time I checked, the death rate was over 37,000 and more. You know, imagine 37,000 persons, you know, being within a period of time of over a year now. You know, it is something that is not applauding. But the big brother United States is always in the business of fueling every crisis in every region. You know, even if you take a look at what is happening also in Europe between Russia and their sister country, you also see their support too to Ukraine. You know, you see a whole lot of things, but these are people who are supposed to, you know, unite the world through the United Nations, but they are oppressing or suppressing the power of the United Nations, making them not to be very or inactive in executing their constitutional power. So, but I think if the United States should, you know, should pull out from this support they are given to all this country, the crisis in the world today will really suppress. That is why I believe. Thank you very much, Honorable Kido. Sorry, Honorable Ibrima, Joe brother, your network was a bit bad. What role do we play? What role do we play to ensure the upkeep of justice in Africa? Now, because of our time, you just I would like you to, you know, to make it a little brief, you know.
Things fall apart. Chinua Achebe, in his book, Things Fall Apart, Chinua Achebe asked this question: where are the young suckers that will rise when the old banana tree dies? So the young people are the young suckers that should rise, and the young people are the hope of this continent. However, we should not wait for the old banana tree. We must rise now, because no contribution is small. Every contribution counts. The time has come for us to rise, show up, and act. We shouldn't be just singing. We should swing into action and do whatever we can do, starting right where we are with what we have. We shouldn't wait for the perfect time, because that perfect time will never come. We can always do something at any particular time about every problem we face. In the words of Barack Obama, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. So as the young people, let us rise and be the change we want to see in Africa, starting with ourselves. We must first fix ourselves. Then we can fix the continent. We must advocate for justice. We must defend justice. We must preach justice. We must practice justice. We must educate our people on justice. We must practice justice starting right from our homes. Homes make communities. Communities make countries, and countries make the world. As a young sucker, we need to get proper knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of what justice is. Without that knowledge, we will never make our contributions, proper contributions to ensuring that we get justice in Africa. We can never make any contribution out of ignorance. So in this world, we have three kinds of people. There are those people who make things happen, and there are those who watch things happen, and there are those who have no idea of what is happening. Every human being is born into the third category, but we have to choose for ourselves where we want to belong, whether we shall make things.
Now, taking a look at the recent election in Senegal, you know, at President Faye election into power, what is your take on what is his election into power? What do you think? What are your views, Honorable Ibrima? Hello, Honorable Ibrima.
Thank you. Thank you. Regarding the Senegalese election, just my next neighbor here.
Yes. Please, can you just make it?
Senegal President Faye and his brother Sonko. These people, they have a project. And I believe the Senegalese people voted for a project. They didn't vote for personality. They didn't vote for individualism. They voted for a project because Sonko has come with a project, to salvage the Senegalese from the clutches of neocolonialism. Because we all know very well that Senegal is the center of this neocolonialism and Ivory Coast. And still, they will never relent. They will still continue to subjugate Senegal. I know that very well. So Sonko and Faye, they have a daunting task ahead. And their task is not going to be easy because they want to change a system in Senegal. They want to change the way the governance operates in Senegal. You cannot favor few individuals at the expense of others. The capitalist system is not prevailing in Africa. Only few people have the money to compete in this free market liberal system. The masses are left to be beggars. So Sonko and Faye, they have a project ahead of them to address that problem. They've even started it by empowering agriculture, by empowering production in their own back door. So this is what every African leader should do. You have to boost production. We cannot rely on foreign aid or grants and loans to initiate our developmental agendas. We need to produce for ourselves and create our own economy. That is the way forward. And that is the only thing that will address our predicaments. Because if you are hungry and your stomach is with somebody outside, if that guy his house is not in order, you will die of starvation. This is what is happening to Africa. We are not producing what we even eat. We rely on outside to bring us food provisions. We rely on budget support from outside while we have everything in our own backyard. So I think Sonko and this fight, they came to change the narratives. So it's a playbook for everybody who is in the political field to watch them and learn from the way they come to power, because they did not come through nepotism. It's the whole citizen who support them based on nationalism and based on the agenda they are pursuing. So that's what it's for. So I think in every African country, we should now focus on voting on agenda rather than voting for personalities. We all know an agenda that is scientific and can address our problem. We should support those kinds of agendas, irrespective of him being your tribalisman or your religious man. Even though he is not of you, but he comes with a project that can support the nation, I urge everybody to support that individual, definitely, irrespective of his background.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you.
Very much. Sorry because of our time. Straight to Honorable Joe. Taking a look at what is happening in Mali today, the president, the head of state. Now, what is your view? What is your stake as well on the work of Assimi Goïta is doing for the Malian anatomy? What is he doing?
For the question now, Colonel Assimi Goïta became the president in 2021 after seizing power from transitional president Prime Minister Mokhtar Ouane, after he accused them of failing to consult him about a cabinet reshuffle that would have replaced the defense and security ministers. Now, Colonel Assimi is a radical leader, unlike many leaders who are puppets of the Western powers. This has been seen in how he dealt with the French and also how he handled the situation when ECOWAS suspended Mali from the economic bloc. Now, radical leadership like that of Colonel Assimi, when properly directed, can significantly transform a country. However, when misdirected, it can lead to serious conflicts, both internal and external, political unrest, diplomatic issues, and several other issues that can affect a country. When we look at somebody like the late President Joseph Pombe Magufuli of Tanzania, he was a radical leader who did in 5 years what many African presidents never did in 10, 20, or 30 years in office. Now, Magufuli had the interest of what happened. Now, Colonel Assimi has the potential of transforming Mali into a very prosperous country if he uses his power well. We remember the Lord Acton, who said power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if a radical leader becomes corrupted by power, then he will use his power to serve his selfish interests, not the collective interests of the people. So as Africans, we need leaders who have our interests at heart, not their selfish interests. Time will tell if Colonel Assimi has the interests of Malians at heart. It is just a matter of time. With time, time tells everything, as we know. Like the people of any other country on earth, the people of Mali deserve good governance, justice, peace, security, economic development and prosperity, quality education, a sound healthcare system, and all other kinds of services. The success of Colonel Assimi will be seen in how he delivers these services to Malians. Thank you so much.
The last but not the least on my list here goes to freedom legend, Kwame. Now, we are looking at the African heads of state, talking about President Captain Ibrahim Traoré and President Ganasberg extension in office. They are trying, the Togolese is trying to enact a law that will extend the office of the president, not voting by the masses, but by the legislature. Now, what is your view? What is your view concerning that? Because I see no reason why the legislature will be the one to vote the president in rather than the masses.
So thank you very much for the question. Yes. Between Traoré's rise to time of power. Yeah. Okay. And this is a world definition of leadership and a politician. This is a world definition of someone who has the people's interest at heart and someone who is just into loot. Okay. Like I stated earlier, the Togolese have been under the rulership of the Nyansin base for so many decades. Now, let us go back to the economy of Togo, and let us see the progress they have done so far. Because you cannot stick to power for all these years, okay, having all the time and all the resources at your disposal, and development will still be mad. So it tells you alone that for them of sticking to power is not necessarily in the interest of the people. Now let us look at Traoré. When he came to power, we've seen what he has done so far. He was even he played a leading role, I think in 2020 thereabout, in the silencing of the juntas, okay. Intention is to make sure that he silenced them completely. And that is what it is, because these people are actually distracting the peace of his people, and he needs to do something about it. He is a fine gentleman that has power through military or artillery. I am so pleased with what he's bringing on board as a president, as young as he may be. All right. And he promises people to prioritize security and restore the state's authority and address humanitarian crisis. If that is not good enough, then what again are we looking at? One of those that he made. And now let me quote him. He said the problem of Africa is singing the same song who call us late. As a result, they end up referring to us as people who do not respect humanity. And this is like, okay, the civil opinions outreach, and they call them to do the right and they refuse, and there is a political takeover. They come back to say that these people, those who are politicians, they're the politicians. Do they actually respect the rights of the civilians, of human? Do they? They don't. And he also said that we African heads of state must stop acting like marionettes, who are puppets made of wood, who dance each time the imperialists pull our strings. They went to Russia, and then Putin promised them food. But he told his people that when they return again for any other summit, this time around, his country or African countries should be able to feed themselves. This is the kind of leadership we want. Someone who sees a problem and who is ready to solve the problem, and not someone that has the interest to pushing his people into problem. I see a sharp contrast between the two. Nyansigbe is only there for his parochial interest, making money for his country, making his name, trying to be afloat, enjoying with his family, looting state property, and that is what I see. It's like a new Thomas Sankara in the making, someone who is interested in liberating his people economically, politically, socially, and everything. And this is the trend, I think. You see, even when ECOWAS threatens him, he still have his grip, he still have his stand. And it was clear the people are behind him. Because they know what exactly they bargain for in our continent, that at least the people that come to power will actually have the interests of the people, and not to diminish them, not to demean them, not to bring them down, like what Nyasimbe is doing. It should be ashamed to him. Okay, Nyasimbe should be ashamed of himself with what he's doing to his people. I don't know what kind of a leader does that. And he should be expecting an upheaval, because you cannot silence people for a very long time. At a point in time, some will be ready to sacrifice themselves, and when that happens, it will be messy. And whatever comes, I think he should take. And the AU too, and ECOWAS and whatever they are, they should be ashamed of themselves. Looking at certain things. They are attacking Traore, right? Burkina Faso, Mali, for overthrow. But what is happening in Togo? What are they doing about it? They are silent. So, like, what is the AU for? You see, this is the time for us, okay? And I think it is through these platforms that we can make our voice known. It is going to be gradual, but I believe in time, changes will be seen. And then we shall liberate ourselves once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. I would have loved to. Okay, just a minute. What is your final word for the viewers? What is your final word?
What I will tell us is, Africa is not dead. Africa has not yet lost hope. The hope of our predecessors, the likes of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara, Haile Selassie, Marcus Garvey, Padmo, is still alive. The only thing we need to do to achieve this is to stand up for what we believe in as Africans. If we are able to do that, if we are able to rise to power ourselves, if we are able to talk truth to power, if we are able to conscientize ourselves, then we can cause the change that we want. There is nothing more that can bring us the best that we need for Africa than this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ebirima.
The viewers will be, let us be focused and be directive when it comes to choosing leaders, because it is only election that we have as people to choose leaders to come and steer our affairs. So in choosing leaders, we have to choose very wisely. Let us put aside nepotism or tribalism or sectionalism. These sentiments will only continue to divide us. Let us support based on program. It is only program of a government that will address the problem of a nation. And our politicians should be bold enough to come and face the people and tell them their program. You shouldn't hide behind the curtain. Use your resources, just people, in order to get to the power. So those kind of systems and the ethics that are controlling the political space should change. Should change definitely.
Thank you very much. Honorable Job. Your last word for the viewers.
The Africa we want will not be built by singing, but by swinging into action. And the time has come for us to swing into action and do whatever we can do, starting by educating ourselves and then educating our people on the need to rise up and show up and do what they're supposed to do. Everybody should occupy that position and do everything they can do to serve. If we do that, then there's no future for this continent. Martin Luther King said, the world suffers a lot, not because of the violence of people, but because of the silence of good people. So we are good people. We are good Africans. Let us not be silent. Let us speak. Let us speak for the change we want. Let us be the change we want, and let us build a continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for everyone. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your contribution. It will go a long way to actualize and achieve our aim as one united Africa. My word to us is that we have to be involved in the politics of our country. If we are not in the corridor of power, we cannot effect the change we want to effect. So we also have to be involved as we educate our people, as we educate ourselves. We also have to be involved in the corridor of power to effect the change we want to effect. Thank you very much. And I would love to meet each and every one of you one day. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you to all the panelists as well.